I punched a hole through my cutting mat because like as I was sewing it, I was like, oh my God, this is never gonna end. Hello. I know it's been a really long time, but it's good to be back. So today I wanted to talk to you about my cottagecore outfit. I sewed the stays using Simplicity 8162, and this little blouse was McCall's 8006, and the skirt, this linen cotton blend, was a half circle skirt. I do still need to put the ruffle on the bottom of the skirt, and I need to take in the skirt. But other than that, she's done. Very pleased overall with this project. First of all, thank you to Minerva.com for providing this fabric in exchange for a post on their website. It was very easy to work with. It's just a simple quilting cotton. So I kind of played with the stripe placement because I knew there would be some fun diagonals and whatnot. And then I decided I wanted to pick up this navy color and do the seam binding with that navy, and then also the ribbon. The ribbon's not quite the right navy, but eventually I will get something better. For now, it works. Overall, I wouldn't say that this project is too difficult. I think the hardest part of it is just making sure that it fits correctly, and I couldn't find the finished garment measurements anywhere. I'm not sure if I just missed them or if they just didn't provide them. For the stays, you want to make sure that it's going to be smaller than your measurements because you want a gap in the front and the back. So I measured each piece, and then I subtracted the seam allowance, and then I multiplied that by 2 because there's 2 sides. And then I went to the size chart for the 14, and I saw that there was an inch difference. So that means there's a 1/2 inch in the front and a 1/2 inch in the back gap calculated in for the size 14. Excuse me, sorry, I had to interject here for a second. When I was editing this part of the video, I was starting to like second guess my measurements because I'm like, only 1/2 inch difference. That doesn't seem right. So I went back and I remeasured the pattern pieces, and sure enough, I came up with like a 5-inch difference between the chart and what I measured. So I'm not really sure what happened. My math skills are sometimes creative. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to email Simplicity and find out what the finished garment measurements are for this corset. Well, after using the form, they did get back to me. They said, well, basically we don't provide that because it is so individual and up to your comfort level, which, you know, I can understand, but it's good to have a reference point, so, which is basically what I said in return. And they said, well, it just wasn't designed that way. So I was like, oh, great, okay. So I guess at the end of the day, you just have to pick the size on the size chart that's closest to your body and then measure the pieces and for sure make a mock-up. Thanks a lot, Simplicity. Okay, back to the video. So I did make the waist a little bit smaller. I probably could have made the bust a little bit bigger. Obviously this is on the dress form right now, so it's not on me, but this is about, I would say that this is about how tight I had it. I could have tightened it a bit more. I could have laced it a bit tighter, but I wanted to be able to breathe. You know, I wasn't going for historical accuracy by any means, and I kind of like the way it looked, so I was fine with that. But if you're going for historical accuracy, then you don't want to have this much of a gap. So like I said, the hardest part was probably the sizing, and then after that, it's not really hard so much, it's just tedious. Could be monotonous even. But you need a lot of patience, and you need to have patience for hand sewing. So if you do, then definitely give this one a try. But you're gonna have to hand sew all of this seam binding along here, bias binding. Up here too, anywhere where you see the bias binding, it was hand sewn. If you're really feeling masochistic, then you could sew your own eyelets by hand, but I was not, so I just used some metal grommets. Something that is gonna make your life way easier is one of these little hole punches, industrial heavy duty hole punches, and you can just hammer it Make sure you hammer into something solid. Don't use your kitchen table unless you really don't care about punching holes in it, because this thing will punch holes. I'm convinced in anything. I punched a hole through my cutting mat. It was not intentional. Be very, very careful when you use this, but it makes punching these, oh my gosh, so much easier. It was so fast and convenient, so highly recommend getting one of these. Again, I'm gonna link it down below. The other tedious thing was cutting the zip ties to size. I used 3/8 of an inch size zip ties, and as the pattern called for. And then after you cut them, you have to file them down so that they won't poke through. I think my favorite part is the contrast between the ribbon and then the bias binding and just the fabric in general. I think it's super nice. I can't wait to sew another one of these. Actually, I'm kind of shocked because like as I was sewing it, I was like, oh my God, this is never gonna end. But I really had fun doing it, actually. So I really would love to do a Halloween one. I don't know if I have enough time this year to do one, but definitely next year. It gives me kind of like Sanderson Sisters vibes. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Bye! Mwah.